Welcome to Artist Tales, the podcast that features and celebrates artists from different walks of life. I'm your host, Heather Martin, and in this episode, I'm speaking with Aneesa Dawoojee, a photographer and art director based in London, England. Welcome, Aneesa.
Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to meet you as well. So tell me a little bit more about yourself.
So I am a South London portrait sport photographer, but I also do documentary photography. So I kind of balance the two. So for me, I love the art of photography. I like the storytelling and narrative of photography. I relate it very much to works that you see in galleries with needing that little tiny bit of narrative to put the image in context and it have some kind of meaning, I guess, to the onlooker.
So tell me a little bit more about the documentary photography and the portrait photography. So what sort of things do you focus on?
Okay, so I do photograph sport work as like commercial for clients and stuff like that. But with that, I do individual portraits which go into more depth about each of the people I photograph. So with those type of portraits, and not just those portraits of the project, my clients as well, I try and give a sense of who they are, what they are, where their journey is and where it's going. So for some people, they come to me and they want to mark a point in their life that means something or something that they've gone through and they've come out the other end of. With my sport work, there was a set of Muay Thai fighters, and I love Muay Thai. It's my favourite sport, and I feel blessed to be able to photograph it as a profession and also as my project. But I was really able to connect, I guess, with the subjects. I think for a portrait to come alive, there has to be a little bit of connection. I'm not saying like you really have to get to know these people inside and out, but you need to have an understanding of what the world is like and what the sport is like and where their A to B may, I don't know how to describe it, but because I've seen so many people in that fight world and what they experience, documenting it in an image feels natural to me. It feels like something they deserve as well, because it is so hard what they put themselves through, and the life challenges as well as the sport itself is difficult. So yeah, I just love it. I've thrown myself in, and I hope I do it justice, because I really do love photographing that side of things.
What is Muay Thai? I've never heard of it before.
So it's a martial art, and it's a bit like kickboxing, but you can use your knees and elbows, and it involves the whole body. It's a very dangerous sport. They refer it to you call it a blood sport. So sometimes you'll see a lot of blood in the arena if someone gets hurt. It's dangerous. It's like, so it's a bit like street fighting. I did it when I was younger because karate wasn't, when I was doing karate, it was not so much, it was contact, but not really contact. Whereas this is a sport that really teaches you how to defend yourself and look after yourself. But not just that, it has a lot of respect and honor and tradition. So if you say you have someone who struggles with their anger or have problems that they're not coping so well, it's a phenomenal outlet, but it's also a way of controlling that, because the trainers really do rein you in and teach you that level of discipline. I just think it's quite unique, and because it dates from centuries ago, and it's a beautiful sport. I know it's violent, but it is a beautiful sport.
And do you go to matches, or do you go to practices? I don't know if I'm saying the right sort of language around it, because I don't know it, but
yeah, so when they're training at the gym, I photograph that as well. I photograph ringside. So it's like from almost amateur to fight camp to ringside, and then the portraits as well. So like pretty much all areas. So you do get a real insight of the whole journey. And for some of those fighters I've followed for several years, so you get more than an insight. And I guess because I've studied their body, their like how they move. You pick up little things, you see little details that you don't always necessarily see. So it's nice to report that back to the world. I think a lot of fighters are stereotyped. If you think about boxers, this is very different to boxing. And many boxers are stereotyped to be a certain way. And then you might get some fighters that are like covered from head to toe in tattoos. But their true self is nothing like the image that they're putting out to the world. So again, it really does teach you about humanity and teach you about what ordinary people are like. It's educational for me, and every time I shoot, it's great.
And it sounds like there's a bit of an overlap with the portrait photography you do and the sports photography. So do they go in hand, or is it a bit of an overlap and you do kind of portraits of other things as well?
Oh, I do many portraits of other things. So yeah, like I do like fight poses as well. But yeah, the set of portraits I created for my main piece of project, which will be exhibited later in the year, that is very carefully curated. It's really, really carefully curated. I've really thought about it. The theme is constant throughout, but I do many other portraits as well. So again, I think I have a set style. I think you could tell my work if you saw it. But yeah, I think for me, I just want to capture a real and raw essence of anyone who comes and sits in front of me. I got told once that you should pose females in a certain way and they should look more feminine. Well, I'm not that kind of girl, so I wouldn't like it so I kind of decided to create images that were more representative of the type of women I shoot. I try not to edit at all where possible, so they are just raw images converted to black and white or remaining in colour, and I keep it as real as I can because then it's a better representation of the subject.
So in many ways, if I'm hearing you right, you're kind of challenging stereotypes?
Yeah, I feel so. It wasn't ever intentional. I've got quite a sensitive nature to the world, and I don't like seeing things that are wrong or unjust or anything like that. So if I feel that someone comes to me and they've had those experiences, I want to show them in their true self, and I want them to be seen and valued for the good that they represent and not the things that people may stereotype them for. So I really, maybe that is very much my thing, is that I want people to have that truth about them coming through in the image. That matters to me. And I guess that's why the relationship that I build with my clients and subjects is quite key as well.
So I was going to say, you said truth, but I was thinking as you're talking, what you're trying to get at is the authentic person.
Yeah, it's the authentic person, the honesty. Again, sometimes I might help pose them, because everyone is uncomfortable and a bit awkward in front of the camera. So I always say that though, how I shoot at the beginning is never how it looks at the end. So it's usually the frames at the very end are the ones I'm going to run with. But yeah, I'm looking for something authentic, something that you can relate to, I can relate to, we can all relate to. That's the bit that I'm looking for.
And how did you get into photography, and particularly doing the sport and the portrait photography?
Well, that's my journey to photography was a bit all over the place. So as a little girl, I wanted to be an artist, and I really thought I could be an artist, but then everyone was saying you're not going to earn any money, so you can't do that. And so I went down academia, but I still compromised. So I did history and politics, and that history and politics, I thought I wasted my degree and it wasn't any use to anyone. But actually what's happened is with the social documentary work, it fully feeds into all of those things that I'm now creating. So it's kind of been just sat there on the back burner. Now I love reading and doing all these extra things because of what I studied many years ago. But I think getting into photography was when I worked at the homeless charity. So I worked there for about 13 years, and the young people were not represented in a way that I felt was authentic or honest. It was very put them in a corner looking sad and impoverished. But that's not true for someone who's been kicked out of their home and is just trying to find some normality. What we should do is show what the future could look like for them and show their happier self and try and fundraise for that. And so we changed all the photography, and I said I'll do it for free, and that was a bit of a turning point for me. Feedback was phenomenal and funders liked it, and it was a different take on homelessness, and I thought, okay, I like that's been received so well. So I just started doing evening courses, and I went back to college learning Photoshop, went to those photography clubs and you go and practice with things with a bunch of strangers. So I would go and do that, and I just kept learning my skills in every free hour that I had until I got good enough to do a transition to becoming a full-time photographer. That took many years and I've no regrets.
You said that you transitioned to be a full-time photographer. How was that transition for you?
Hard. So it was really, really difficult. I was scared. I thought everyone would laugh at me. People did laugh at me. I could count like many times people kept saying it was a hobby, so they wouldn't call it a job, and that would really upset me. And I was just like, why are you saying that? Like, because it was knocking my self-esteem an awful lot. But I'm quite robust. I would keep trying to prove a point that photography is a profession. And so then I joined institutes and started getting my qualifications. And then through that, you meet a network of other photographers who then show you pathways of other things that you can achieve. So I think that's what I was trying to do. I want to be successful as well as professional. And so everything I learned from the homeless charity, pulled it into my now business, and I run what I hope is a very professional service. But doing the other jobs previous in my career have served me well. Like sometimes it's just good to do different career paths, because then you know when you do this as your final choice, it's the right one.
And I was going to ask you about that, because there's no one correct way of getting through life. And even I do find that, my career has, even whether it's full-time employment or even my photography career, gets influenced by a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And I know what you mean about sort of people, that's just a hobby, because I get that quite a lot as well, because I'm not seen as a serious photographer, quote unquote, because I don't generally charge for it. And it's like, well, I'm just as good as anybody else.
Yeah. So at that point, you should put a price on it.
Yes.
So they don't say that. And when you're charging a lot of money for that, they will stop saying that. So I think that's when you get to a point where it's a bit of a sweet spot where you can be quite like, okay, I'm absolutely a professional photographer, because if I'm able to charge my client X, Y, and Z and offer them the best possible service, as good as any studio in London, then you know that it's a real job. It's not a pretend job. You didn't make it up. We're freelancers, as most freelancers are. I think for us, we need to just stand our ground and speak with that conviction that this is what my value is. This is how much work it is involved. But again, like for me, it isn't always the price, because I have my professional side of it. I can really look past all those things that were said in the past, because I still do jobs that are free, but for the right type of person. And that's coming from a place of me wanting to do it and with reason. So in all honesty, I was never driven by the money. That wasn't the point. I wanted to be seen as a professional and also as an artist. So again, like for ages, I couldn't ever use that word artist. It wasn't until I got to a stage of having the work submitted for places where it's considered more art or things like that, until I got to that stage could I actually use that word. So even that, I had to go through a whole psychological process of, what am I at that stage yet? Can I be that? Or am I still a photographer? Like, it's fine to be both, but I think for me, because I loved art so much and I mirrored so much of what I remembered and think about in galleries through my work, it mattered a little bit to me. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but it did matter to me a little bit.
Well, as you're talking, I'm also thinking about the value of art and artists, regardless of whether you do it professionally or not. I guess part of me sometimes feels that some people, not everybody, but some people kind of, unless you're making money from it, then you're not a true photographer, a true artist. And it's like, well, or if you're not getting into these big competitions and stuff, and it's like, well, actually, it's not that I can't do that, but I don't know if it's a kind of a snobbery or kind of labels we put on things or stereotypes, but there's value in whatever art we produce. And I do sometimes wonder there's, for lack of a better word, a snobbery of, unless it's hung in a gallery, it's not art.
Yeah, I think so. I think until I saw my work hanging in a gallery, did I change it on my email signature and I put artist. That was the day I did it, in all honesty. I don't know, maybe that's what we're taught and made to believe, but you're right, like my work was that all along, but I didn't feel it was worthy enough to publicly say it. So yeah, there's stuff there that we need to unpack. But that's for you getting me someone else to sit here and do captioning with about why I don't call myself an artist. But yeah, like I think it's all part of the growth, right? It's part of the growth, it's part of the journey. It's why we are artists. You're not meant to be like anybody else. You're meant to be a creative. You're meant to be different. I don't desire to be like anyone else, and I hope they don't want to be like me, because that would just be awful and boring and like quite, like I just don't see the point. So even on like who I follow, I don't follow many photographers. I do love I will cite loads of artists, but I'll enjoy good photography and I'll remember certain people and I'll go back and think about what they tried to do or achieve through their work, and then I'll just box that in my brain, and when I'm doing my own projects, there might be little snippets of everything that I'm pulling together. But I think to try and mirror yourself as another artist to be an artist, that just doesn't work. And that's why it's taken me so long to feel confident enough to call myself that.
And to find your voice. I think for me, it's taken me a while to find my voice and that authentic voice as well. And I think, to go back to what you're saying, you want to, like in your portraits, for instance, want to give an authentic portrait, but it's also that interaction between you and the person or people you're doing the portrait of.
Yeah, I mean, that interaction between myself and the sitter is huge. That's the majority of the work. To downplay that would just be wrong. My relationship with that person is very important. And therefore, that's why I can't be looking or thinking about what someone else is producing, because it's not authentic to my relationship. That's where I'm able to create what I am. It's they're working with me. I'm not over directing. They're actually bringing an awful lot to me rather than me bringing it to them. And that's what I think is enjoyable. I love shoot days. I hate admin days, but I love shoot days because there's no part of it I don't enjoy. Not one part of it. Every second is enjoyable for me, and I'm learning the whole time.
Which leads on, I think, nicely to my next question around sort of who or what influences you.
So I wrote like a little mini thesis for one of my fellowships that like Frida Kahlo will probably always be one of my favourite artists on the planet. I like women like that. I like the strength in her portraits. I like the fact that she went through so much. And I think some artists, the artists with the most amount of pain, that you feel it in their work or it's part of the narrative, are the ones that I love the most. I'm not saying I'm addicted to pain, but I like that. I don't know, maybe it resonates with me in some way on a deeper level, but she will always be my go-to person that I will cite first. August Sander, I always say, like, it was actually one of my mentors brought him to me and said, your work will have reminiscent things of this. And when I put all the images together and he's telling me how and when, and he's a lecturer, so he can see these things that I couldn't see. And when he brought it to me about what I was doing, I was like, oh, that was interesting. And again, like, I don't know that there are so many, I mean, there's thousands and thousands of photographers, artists. Of course we're going to have like little elements of each other. So when someone brings someone to me, I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I want to see more of their work now. Albert Watson, in terms of commercial work, I love some of his work, that one or two back. I even like sent that book to a couple of people just because I think they should see that, like it, and his range of skin tones of what he's photographed. I think that's phenomenal because I photograph all skin tones, and that is one of the hardest things to get right properly in camera without it being over manipulated. So if I see people like that photographing what they do, I just think, wow, that's impressive. That is impressive. I'm trying to think, like more artists, but again, like I couldn't tell you who's the biggest influence. They're probably subconsciously all in there having their impact. But I have lots of art books. Like Dali was my favourite as a child. So that book's just there on my table as we're speaking. And I still love looking at that. And maybe with that, it's the formation. Again, they're not overly feminine things, but the form is, I like the form and how he sculpts everything, and the colour, the vibrancies. I like all of that. So there's things I could take from everybody and think, yeah, that's usable. That's interesting. And then some of his work as well, it's very not so abstract. And they're things that, again, I get inspiration from. I'll read it. If you put an art book in front of me, I'll read it and see what is usable. So yeah, I wouldn't like to say that one person is my favourite or has inspired me the most, because I don't think I have that.
As you're talking, I kind of feel the same. I think often when I go to art galleries and things, it's seeing a bit of that, seeing a bit of this. And there might be times where you see somebody who's had a struggle, or, if you can maybe identify, that person struggled, or if somebody's looked at your pictures. I've had a friend who looked at my pictures and will pick out things that you don't see,
Yeah.
Which, I wasn't thinking one or two people. It's kind of just generally what influences you.
Yeah. Well, like I say, like if I had to pick one person and I was forced to, I'd pick Frida Kahlo, just as everything she stood for, like what she represents, would mirror more of me than anybody else.
That's fine, and you don't have to pick one person, but I think she's quite iconic in some ways.
Yeah, like there's so much to her, so many layers. There's so many things I admire from that one figure or one person. So like for me, it's about, what is it that I connect to? I think out of all the ones that I can think of, there's many reasons why I would connect to her paintings and why I like them so much.
And what motivates you? So when you were starting to get into photography, what drew you to the sports and portrait photography in particular?
I don't know. I have an interest in humanity. I have an interest in conflict. So again, when I did my history and politics degree, I had an interest in conflict in particular. I thought I did that as like throughout my GCSE and A levels, but like I used to read conflict poetry. I only watched war films. I had quite maybe a bit of an obsession with conflict, and I did a postgrad in conflict mediation studies when I was at the homeless charity. So there's a part of me that wants to see peace and can't understand why people can't get to peace. So yeah, like I think it definitely stems from that. The human face gives away so much, the body gives away so much, but the fight itself represents so much as well. Like it's a metaphor as well as the physical. I don't know why. I like when I was a child, I watched boxing late at night, and I mean it was quite brutal back then, but I did enjoy it, and I remember the like childhood memories of watching the boxing, and like Muhammad Ali is one of the people I admire and most in life. His bravery to stand up and speak about things. He wasn't so much a boxer as he was an advocate, an activist, and someone who fought for things that were right. So yeah, like I think it's a combination of all of that. I love movement. Yeah, so I love dance and I love fighting. I don't really work together, but they do as well.
Well, I would say some of the movements in boxing, there's a dance element to it, isn't there?
Yeah, in Muay Thai there is, because it's very graceful in how the body moves as well. And like some martial arts are like a dance, like the Brazilian ones and stuff like that. So I like, yeah, maybe it's the movement. It challenges me to use different shutter speeds. Yes, there's a combination, I would say, probably.
And just thinking, going back to what you're saying about form and Picasso, I'm just wondering with the martial arts and the movement and boxing and stuff, whether it's kind of that.
With Dali.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite potentially. You could, maybe that has something to do. Yeah, because also with photography and art, you think about the formation. Yes, certain things don't look right in a position. So again, like if I post a fight image, well, I'm going to get the one that looks the best in formation with both bodies working together to make the best impact or non-impact shot. So yeah, like I'm looking at fight pictures very differently. I'm probably not looking at them in a conventional way. I'm not looking at it to get the best hit in the face. I am getting those shots as well, but that's not my priority. I'm looking for something else in that ring. Maybe that's it. Every time there's a challenge, every time it's different body shapes, different people, different lighting. So yeah, like it's humanity though. It all boils down to humanity, human behavior. I think I have a complete fascination with that and conflict.
And perhaps struggle as well, maybe?
Well, yeah, struggle's definitely in there. That's like been noticed by quite a lot of people. They all see that in my work, is that the common theme is struggle. I know what struggle looks like, so it's important that if you feel it, that you can identify it in my images, I hope, and then also feel like you're not alone. If you look at those pictures and you don't feel alone because you know everyone else is going through a struggle, you're going to not feel so bad, right? I don't mean to do it in a morbid way, but like sometimes it may come across that way, but it's not. It's to hopefully make feel better.
Humanity and struggling, I think, go hand in hand in many ways. So probably what you're capturing is that human struggle. Seeing your work, I think it does capture that personally.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Yeah, maybe it's my way of speaking as well. I don't overtalk myself. I did write, again, like in my work. There's definitely a piece of me in that work, in all of the work. So whether it's a new piece or an old piece, nearly everyone who sits in front of me, I identify with in some way, shape or form. And so every piece I produce carries a little bit of me in it, because like I am empathizing and feeling things that they're like I feel. So like the narratives will be released at some point, but I want that to be on the right platform at the right time and everything like that. So, but when people talk to me and share things with me, it's I feel hopeful about so many things, and that's why I enjoy my shoots so much, because it means that no struggle has gone in vain. Like they just haven't. And like that's why I don't over post on Instagram. I don't over share on my websites or anything like that. I hold on to the images until I can do something wise with them, because otherwise just sharing them on Instagram, they get lost in a feed. They don't mean anything. I don't want that for my pictures. It's just not what I'm after.
No, it sounds like you're much more thoughtful. Like images are much more thoughtful than just, I'm just taking a quick snap.
Oh, God, yeah. Like, I think it would horrify some photographers, my processes. And that's okay because I'm not them. And my time is my time, and how I choose to work is how I choose to work. So, yeah, I am thoughtful. I plan. I think often I don't need to, and it's very much off the cuff. But yeah, I am thoughtful. Yeah, you're right.
And talking about challenges, what sort of challenges have you faced becoming the photographer you are today?
There have been a lot. I have felt the challenges. I have felt out of place. Like I use the word I don't fit in sometimes because I think I am not. I don't know. Like sometimes I worry about. Like I've said this a few times at different talks. Like I worry about the way I speak and the way I come across, and I worry about so many things because when I look at the art world, it seems quite affluent, and I'm not that person. And so, like I worry about things I shouldn't worry about. Put it that way. I need to just bin all of that and just really just plug away and pretend that there is nothing there watching me. But I'm sensitive to comments. I'm sensitive to how people engage with me and all those things. But I think in any work industry, in any institution, in any place you go, there's going to be that. So it is about, for me, this whole journey is teaching me how to be a stronger person and how to manage all different character types. That's what it is. And I think so my struggles are many, but so long as I can do good with them, that's the end result. And I hope I can do that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's often a lot of assumptions made based on sort of accent, the way you speak, kind of even how you look and that sort of thing. And, it's that tension between that and, as we were talking about before, the authenticness, the kind of the truth and stuff. And, I think it can be a struggle to keep tapping into the truth and authenticness.
Yeah, I think so. It's finding your strength and finding yourself and all those things and all the things that I think all artists must go through, some worse than others, because it is about, I do think there are cultures in the art world. I do think that. And so like if you're fortunate enough to know it well enough, you may fly a bit better. But if you feel like you're a bit out of place, then you may stop yourself from flying a bit better. So there are definitely cultures. Sometimes I look at it might be a competition or something, and you'll see a certain style or set of images that seem to always get through every year. And there are themes or tones or types of people that clearly whoever's judging are looking for. And that then is repeated year in, year out. And then you can almost, and I know this works because I actually ended up playing up to one of those, and I was successful after many years of not being, or like many attempts of not being successful. I ended up being successful. You can preempt what someone's looking for because they have it's like a set culture within their group. So one of the people I know, I really like him. He calls certain types of groups like monocultures, and I like that word because we could easily fall into that monoculture. I am a bit resistant to things like that. Like that's the whole thing about like what I was saying to you earlier about being an artist. Is you find who you are and what is unique to you and what makes you who you are. I don't want to be like everybody else. And that may work for you or it may not work for you. That's been a big learning curve for me.
Yeah, what you have said has really resonated with me because I remember putting some images into an exhibition a number of years ago. I was dropping my images off somewhere and chatting with the guy who was taking the images, and we were talking about the judging and judges, and his comment was, you play to the judges, you find out about the judges and what they like and play to them. And I just found, yeah, but that's not necessarily what I want to do, and it seemed really unauthentic.
Oh, absolutely. And rest assured you won't get anywhere by being authentic. So this is why I made my work a little bit more palatable when it was needed. And then when it wasn't needed, I could be my true self. And then so long as you get, because it's like qualification. Say you go and you do your degree in art, history of art, whatever it might be, you still have to fit the criteria of what the university or establishment are looking for. And so you are not being your authentic self. Even in your personal projects, you may not fully be your authentic self because you're working to a essay title that you might not want to work to, or a research subject that you don't really think is as important as the many other sub-research things. So do you know what I mean? Like there are times where you have to compromise, but then later you can be completely yourself. So I think I'm now trying to be completely myself. It's taken a long time. but I'm trying to do that and be that. And if they like it, they like it. And if they don't, then it's not for me.
And, hopefully it'll speak to somebody.
Yeah, I think it will. Like, to be honest, my main panel of work, I was very conscious of the hands, because the hands need to look a certain way in portraiture if it's above the waist or whatever. But since then, since the main body of work, I've been so reckless with what the hands are doing. I'm not as bothered at all. I want them like doing things they shouldn't be doing, or like covering parts of the face and all of those things. Because like I've heard people say a true portrait is looking straight at you and like through the eyes and all that. Well, was it the Head of Christ, that one, that Rembrandt one, is not looking straight to you, is it? It's looking to the side, looking away. And there are other images where the hands are touching the face and all of that. So I'm in absolute disagreement with that. But if that's the rules, that's the rules. But I don't like those rules.
It's knowing how to break. Somebody had said to me, it's knowing how to break the rules.
Yeah.
It's knowing the rules and knowing how to break them.
Subtly and quietly.
Or not so subtly. But if you look at a lot of the really big kind of artists, what do? They kind of break the rules, subtly and maybe not so subtly.
I mean, at some point I will be very unsubtle with how I break them. But at the moment I'm still breaking subtly, because that works for me.
Whatever works for you. So what's next?
Well, I have an exhibition from the 15th of September, and that will run for 3 months in Streatham in South London, and that will be at the Space Project, and that has been funded by the Arts Council. So that's massive to me, because it meant I could finish my project and do it justice, do like workshops, things that I love doing and can enjoy doing, but with like support and backing and a team working with me. So that's like something amazing for the year ahead. Next year, it looks like I might be having a second exhibition, but I don't know the ins and outs of that one yet, but I will post on those as and when it happens. And then the next thing I'm trying to do is just like sound out if I can find a publisher. Like I want to have all the images together in one place where people can enjoy it as the narratives that I spoke about, where I don't really share them at the moment. Like I said, I want them to be somewhere where the people who read them aren't just going to read them and think meh and then move on. Like I want them to read them and be engaged with what it is and what it stands for. So that's why I still I post little bits and pieces and little snippets, but yeah, I'm kind of still holding out, hopefully. And yeah, I'll work on that. I'll do my best. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But if it can, that's the end goal at the moment.
There's something different about interacting with a book and sort of reading the descriptions. Then, I'm just thinking, I'm not against social media, but it's the immediacy, and you swipe, you go to the next. There's something about a book that you can reflect on and read and go back to that is much harder on social media.
Yeah, 100%. I've started listening to books on Audible, only because it takes me a while to digest words when I'm physically reading them. But I've still bought the book because I can still go back to the relevant sections and highlight little bits or turn the pages, or something quite special about a book. And with photo books, I look at my photo books, I love them. I have a friend that produced his on Nightscapes, and I love that book. And like there are so many books that I will keep and think that's just lovely, and I will keep looking at those photographs. And if there's narrative, you will read those narratives, and then that person who gave you that narrative knows that it's in that right hands, and the person who is reading it or wanting to learn about you is doing so from a good place. And so, yeah, that whole swiping thing, yeah, I don't want it to be remembered for 3 seconds in someone's very rushed day-to-day world. I want them to sit down on a holiday or on a Sunday afternoon and enjoy it, or maybe go to the exhibition, and then if I get the book at some point, then they would have experienced it. And like I say, if I get the book, if I do something like that, I don't want it to be a me thing. The whole point is about everybody together. So then it takes the onus or the spotlight off me, which is not really what I'm after. I just really, really believe that the project that I'm working on is worth something and will mean something to so many.
Oh, definitely. I think so.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, thank you. It's been really good speaking with you. It's been so interesting to hear about your journey, and good luck with, your future kind of exhibitions, and fingers crossed about the book.
Thank you. I need that. Toes as well. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thanks for listening to this episode with Aneesa. which was the last episode of the second series. More information about Aneesa, as well as the podcast, can be found in the podcast notes. If you're able to, please rate and review the podcast in the podcast apps. I hope you enjoyed the second series of Artist Tales, and hope you'll join me in the third series when it arrives.